Rabbi Moshe Dunn Kestenbaum is a renowned therapist. He counsels teenagers and parents. He's a TED columnist, and he's written 4 books, including The Heart of Parenting. And he's here today to talk about chutzpah. Rabbi Kestenbaum, thank you for being here. When I say chutzpah, I mean specifically how we as parents can deal with Chutzpah-dik teenagers. I know this is a struggle for a lot of us. What do you have to say about that?
The first thing I want to say is exactly what you said. It's a struggle for all of us. A lot of parents think that my son or my daughter is so difficult and I don't know what's going on and something's wrong, and they don't want to tell their neighbor what their son is saying or daughter is saying. Who knows? They hurt their shidduchim, and they feel alone and they feel there's something unusual. But unfortunately, it's really going on, probably most houses, in really difficult ways. So no parents should realize that it's Chazal's promise before Mashiach will come. Chutzpah is going to constantly increase, and it's not the parents are doing something wrong. The kids just are programmed differently.
And just hearing
than
that,
they used to be.
Such a tayelis. I can't tell you. Just that alone. Continue.
Yeah. So parents should know it's normal. Now the next question is how to deal with it.
And before that, I just want to mention this point that you made about how we're sort of afraid to tell this. I know this encompasses a lot of life. I'm sure this is not just something in the frum world, but we're embarrassed, we're ashamed, we think that the other guy has it perfect, and we have a certain struggle that's unique to us. And yeah, it can be something that can really harm us, and it's great to hear the reinforcement that no, this is something which is common.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good idea for parents to reach out. I met a father, just reminds me, I met a father recently who told me I have real issues with my son. He got upset at me the other day, and he called me, you'll never believe it, he called me an idiot. And the father, there's something wrong with my son. And I don't want to tell him what other nice things I've heard from other parents' stories, it's not so bad, it happens, your son's okay. You just got to know how to stay calm and deal with it and move forward.
Incredibly helpful. Okay, next point.
Next point is my philosophy, and what I see helpful is I don't see fighting chutzpah head on as a smart tactic. Little kids, parents could decide how they want to deal with it, small punishments, etc. I wouldn't go crazy with the punishments. But as kids get older, teenage years, I haven't seen success with parents, being very tough. My son called me an idiot or was out of line, so I'm going to take away their phone, which for these kids could be their lifeline, depends on the child, or I'll lock them in the room for 3 days. I don't see it as an effective method, and I just want to explain a little bit why. Kids' chutzpah today, like we said, it's just part of their nature. In a marriage, the marriage counselors don't advise if the wife is out of line and yells at her husband because she's upset, or the husband's out of line. They don't advise them to punish them or to stop talking to them for 2 days. They advise them, stay calm, tell your wife, I understand you're upset, but it's not going to be helpful if we talk in this way. The wife or the husband is expressing themselves, maybe not in the most mature way possible. If adults have a hard time expressing themselves when they're upset in a nice way, how do we expect the child to tell their mother or father, Mom, Dad, it really bothered me when you did this. It really hurt my feelings. Maybe we could talk about it. Children, how do we expect them to be that mature? So it used to be a child was afraid to express himself. But today, the child, just like a husband or wife, will express himself. And because they're not so mature, they'll express themselves in a very angry way. But we remember there's a gift here. They're expressing themselves. And I tell parents, better your son or daughter yells at you than they don't talk to you. Because no communication is the worst thing possible. So if you're going to lock your kid in the room, or you're going to do extreme punishments, you run the risk of not the child coming back to you for the next time and saying, oh, Mom, I'm going to talk to you nicely. I want to talk to you about something that's bothering me. You run a high risk the kid just won't talk to you when they're upset at you because they know that you're going to punish them, so they won't communicate with you when they're angry. That's not good. Not good in marriage, not good in parenting. So it's not a smart approach. I think we're a lot better off by staying calm, teaching your children good midos, that just because you were out of line, I'm not going to be out of line back. And tell the child, look, I understand you're upset. First of all, they're upset. Appreciate what they're going through. when parents just punish the chutzpah, they're also ignoring the fact that the child is upset. Something's bothering the child. So tell the child, let's see, it's a girl complaining she has no clothing. So I feel bad you're upset you don't have clothing. So empathize, recognize they're upset. But screaming at me or being disrespectful is not helpful. So when you're ready, we could talk about it. We can go shopping. Telling your daughter, I'm not going to go shopping for the next month because you were Chutzpah-dik is not a smart approach. It's not going to lead to good things. Better to teach them how to stay calm, teach them how to talk properly, and eventually make time. But eventually, as they get to adults, you'll have a good relationship with them, and the chutzpah will lessen as time goes on.
So in other words, that's sort of the long-term perspective on this. Obviously, there are no guarantees, but with this approach, you think that if I'm looking at the long term and into adulthood, Amir Hashem, that it will subside and this will sort of set the tone and make it diminish.
Absolutely. To clarify exactly like you're saying, I think of it like this. When your child, I don't know any 21-year-old, 22-year-old that is yelling at their parents and being really disrespectful. Either they have a close relationship or they have a very weak relationship, but at that age, they realize it's not okay to start screaming at their parent, hopefully. At least 23, 24, 25. So it doesn't happen.
38.
So,
no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. So your children grow up late today, but your child is going to eventually lose the chutzpah. Now you want to know what's left with it. If you're going to fight and really get into destroy your relationship over your child's chutzpah, the chutzpah may stop, but you'll be left we could be left without a relationship. Better you stay calm. Better now it takes midos work. I tell parents, you want your kid to work on themselves. You have to work on yourself. You have to stay calm. You have to not take what they're saying personally. If you have a temper, you're going to have a hard time being a good parent nowadays. Really hard time. So you have to stay calm, not take what they're saying personally, which is a good role model for them, which is the main part of parenting, is being a good role model. And over time, they'll learn from you how to be a mensch, and you'll keep a good relationship with them. And over time, the chutzpah, it may take a few years, but eventually the chutzpah will disappear, and you'll be left with a beautiful child and a beautiful relationship.
Incredible stuff. And what would you say to a parent who says, okay, I hear you, that's the way to deal with the child, him or herself, but what if younger siblings see them behaving this way, and what if they pick up on it? What about that risk?
That is a very good question. Wasn't prepared for that question. Excellent question. I have to say like this.
I get the big bucks.
Yeah, you deserve it. So I have to say like this. First of all, I'll say that we have to do what's the right thing for the older siblings. We have to do the right thing, and Hashem will take care of things. The right things will fall in place. I've seen a lot of parents do extreme things to protect the younger siblings. They'll see that we don't stand for this and Yiddishkeit issues and things like that, and it did not lead to good things for the older kids, and it a lot of times doesn't lead to good things for younger kids. Younger kids, and we have to understand in general, kids see the truth. The child looking at the older sibling being disrespectful is looking at how the mother and father is going to react. So you'll say, well, they'll see I don't tolerate, but they'll see your anger, they'll see you screaming, and they'll be like, oh, I don't like, my mother they weren't very nice to me about that, they weren't very nice to her. If they see you say, that was disrespectful, I feel bad you're upset, but, if you want to talk about it calmly, let's talk about it. When they see that, they're like, my mother, my father, they have good midos. Wow, I don't know how they stay calm. And they'll learn from you to be a better person. I don't think the main lesson they take out is, oh, I can get away with that. No, they'll learn from you to be a real mensch. And it'll work for the older siblings and it'll work for the younger siblings. And you know what? If you do the right things with the older siblings, even if it requires, a certain level of tolerance and self-control, what happens is the older siblings will become better people because you have that good relationship with them, and they'll be a good role model and a good influence on the younger siblings. Today you're going to cut the cord and be tough on the older sibling, but you have to think a little down the road. The older sibling is the biggest influence on the younger sibling by how they turn out, not by what they're doing today.
Makes a lot of sense. This is incredibly powerful and useful advice, and I really appreciate it, Rabbi Moshe Don Kestenbaum. How do people contact you if they want your counseling services?
I have a website which has a lot of interesting articles and some shiurim called heartofparenting.com. Also, people are free to email me if any questions, kestenbaum4@gmail.com. I meet parents and kids in Passaic and 5 towns. So if anyone wants to contact me, we try to help them if I can.
Kestenbaumforum@gmail.com and heartofparenting.com. Thank you, Rabbi Kestenbaum, here on Matzav.com and the JewishNewsChannel.com. Really appreciate it, and we hope to have you back.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.